Hi everyone, my name is Maria Dukova, and today we're going to talk about the Anglo-Saxon democracy in the case of the United States of America, United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia. So let's talk about the Anglo-Saxons. The Anglo-Saxons were a cultural group who inhabited present-day England in the early Middle Ages. They traced their origins to settlers who came to Britain from northern mainland Europe, for example, like present days northern Germany and Jutland Peninsula in Denmark in the 5th century. However, the ethnogenesis of the Anglo-Saxons occurred within Britain, and the identity was not merely important. Anglo-Saxon identity arose from interaction between incoming groups from several Germanic tribes, for example, Anglos, Saxons, and Jutes, both amongst themselves and with the indigenous Britons. Many of the natives over time adopted Anglo-Saxon culture and language and were assimilated. The Anglo-Saxons established the concept and the United Kingdom of England, and though the modern English language owes somewhat less than 26% of its words of their language, this includes the vast majority words used in everyday speech. Political philosophy today is concerned with shifting the debris with testing in the light of contemporary experience the validity of problems and symbols still taken for granted generation ago, and with repairing the identifies of critical theory that has become badly dilapidated in the course of the so-called modern centuries. A theory that insists on discussing political in terms of Anglo-Saxon democracy cannot deal adeptly even with the Western nation states and not all with political organizations, for example, like Asiatic civilizations. It will therefore be a second problem of a political philosophy to separate the essentials from the historically contingent and to break it with habit of treating the institutions of a particular national state and at particular times as if they truly manifested the nature of man. English opponents of democracy have long been accustomed to quote American experiences in support of their case. The government of the people by the people, they tell us, is a pretty phrase, but what does really it mean? If we're looking at the United States, which has never been burned with a heredicated chamber, which knows no distinctions of rank and elects the chief of the nation every 4 years, they are all the forms of self-government. How much is there of the reality? Got behind names, look at the facts, and what can we find? It's just a municipal corruption, the power of rich corporations, the omnipotence of the political machine, the misguidance of the electorate by the press. And actually, there is no government by the popular will because there is no popular will to govern. How much of this indictment is true, Americans can judge better than an Englishman, whose experience in their country has been too brief to make him an instructed observer, and too pleasant to leave him perhaps a wholly unbased critic. But certain things must strike even a casually visitors to the United States who keeps his eyes open and takes any pains so sift the options which he encounters. If we're talking about the Canada, the Canadian system of government is constitutional monarchy and a parliamentary democracy. Canada's parliament consists of 3 parts, like the king represented by the governor general, the Senate, and the House of Commons. The House of Commons plays an important role in Canada's system and government. It actually debates issues, votes on the passage flows, and ensures the government is held accountable. If we're talking about the members of Parliament, They are sitting in the House of Commons to represent their local communities, known as electoral districts. The Senate's fundamental role is to be complementary legislative body to the elective House of Commons, providing sober second thought. In that role, the Senate acts essentially as a reviewing chamber on proposed bills before they are passed. The Senate also has a fundamental role to play as a chamber for the representation of regional interests. The Senate has also become an important institution for the representation of minority interests and groups who may be underrepresented in the elected chambers, such as indigenous people, minority language and ethnic groups, and women. The Canadian Constitution provides that the Senate has 105 appointed members divided among province and territories. The power to appoint senators sets with the Governor General by constitutional convention. The Governor General's power is exercised on the advice of the Prime Minister. If we're talking about Australia, so before 109,001, Australia consisted of six British colonies, which were partly self-governing but under the law-making power of the British Parliament. In the 1880s and 1890s, it was suggested the colonies might be stronger and more efficient if they worked together. Several conventions were held to draft an Australian constitution. The constitution was approved by a vote of the Australian people in referendums held in each colony between June 1899 and July 19. It was then agreed to be by the British Parliament. On the 1st of January 1901, the Australian colonies united to become a nation. This is known as a federation and resulted in the creation of the Australian Parliament with the colonies becoming Australia's 6 states. Through federation, the states transferred some of their law-making power to the Australian Parliament. And Australia is a representative democracy, which means Australia select members of Parliament to make laws and decisions on our behalf. So that's all for today. Have a good day and bye.